How you doing, folks? I'd like to share with you today on the things I've used this year, and it goes from I've used the same bow during competition and hunting, which is kind of a Bear Grizzly. This is a newer Bear Grizzly, 2018. I picked up to kind of keep my older bows, my vintage bows, on the rack. They still shoot good. As far as the Grizzly goes, probably one of the toughest bows for the money that I've shot. And actually, it's not really the bow brand, it's the length of the bow that's most important. And the Grizzly is a 58 AMO, and it's the first Bear bow that I end up shooting. I started out with a PSE Nighthawk, was about 62. Once I picked up that Bear Grizzly, I shot it for a good little bit, and and I still do. It seems to be a bow I always go back to. I shoot really well, and all that. So with that, I try to get something that's more in for my budget, especially being on a budget. From broadheads to a quiver. I got a Great Northern quiver on this one, is how I've got it set up. It's a bolt on. It's got 1/4 20 screws on it. That's what fits the bears. What fits the bears, what they use when they tap into the riser, is 1/4 20 inserts. And so and Great Northern has a great customer service. I talked to Bob Brum before I bought, and kind of went down to the color I needed and what I was needing to get. And he even checked on me after I got it and got it bolted on, and was he seen the picture I posted, and he called, sent me a message and made sure, he said it needs a little bit of tweaking. I already tweaked it after that, and I showed him another picture. He said it's perfect. But the customer service checking up on you, make sure you got it set up right on your bow. You can't beat it. The wires on it. This is kind of an adjustable quiver, and it'll kind of adjust about as pretty good length of bow as you can get, and the wires are covered. It's got a lifetime warranty on the wires, as long as you don't put any heat to them. They'll know if you put heat to them or not. And if my wires break for any reason, I just call him up, and he'll send me a new bracket, or send me a whole new quiver. I just got to ship the old one back. And you can't ask for no better than that. And I do the same thing with broadheads. I use a Magnus Stinger 2-blade, and I got some 4-blade and 125, but this is the 2-blade in 150, and it's on a center shot Beeman Arrow 500 spine. That's what I shot my buck with. My doe I shot with my 1971 Bear Grizzly at 45/28, which is about 43 pounds. I think I checked it on my scale. I don't know if my scales were accurate, but it was at 27.5. It was 44.8. So the older bow seems to pull a little bit heavier, but I harvested a doe with the Beeman ICS, fixing to get some new arrows, the traditional onlys from Three Rivers, and they're basically an Easton Arrow is who makes them, and it's the same identical to the Beeman ICS, except for better straightness. So I'm basically going to have a video on that, setting that up, and getting the best shooting out of it. I normally, play around with an arrow for a while, because I've made some mistakes early on in cutting them too quick instead of seeing it over time. And these Beeman's center shots, I cut them down 1/4 inch, and they seem to fly a bit better than they were at full length. So they're full length at 31 inches, same as the Beeman ICSs and the traditional onlys. It'll be 31 inches roughly, give or take a 1/2 inch. And I'll do a video on that, setting those arrows up, even down to the fletching of them. And but you know, with the Magnus on the broadheads, what I use is because they got a, you know, they come sharp straight out of the pack, ready to go take out hunting. They're that sharp straight out of the pack. Customer service is through the roof. You know, it's got a lifetime guarantee on the broadheads. They don't cover if it's lost. And if you hit something during practice or shoot through an animal and it bends, curls that tip up, you know, any manufacturer defect, or, you know, it hits something really hard, you break it, you know, you just send them a picture and they'll send you a brand new one. And that's one of the reasons, and plus they fly good. And I've got my two first traditional kills this year, and I've been hunting with a traditional bow for about 3 years. So I finally, you know, got that in there. And it's, last year I was on deer, but I just kept missing them, and that's why I ended up working on just focus, and it paid off. And some, you know, some other things that I use, you know, as far as scent control, I use Pro Guy Gold. I just use one bottle of scent control. I don't have no scent wash, or, you know, something, you know, like the soaps that you can buy. I just use regular soap, like Dove unscented, or right now I'm using a natural soap, which has a peppermint smell, but it dries faint. It's supposed to help with your sinus, clear your sinuses up, help your skin or whatnot. I just like the soap, regardless of what it does. You can buy it in a big bottle of it, and I just use that in one spray. I keep everything pretty simple. Shooting glove, I'm using a Damascus, getting to where I'm liking a thinner glove. I've been practicing without a glove for the past while because of the cooler weather we've had, and I would shoot just bare fingers, then I would just throw on a glove to keep my hands warm out while I was hunting. So that kind of worked out for me, and that's exactly what I was doing. Just shot a regular glove, didn't have a shooting glove on, so I just shot a glove to keep my fingers warm, and I just kind of shot that way and to harvest my buck. And I will post a picture here at the end. It'll show you what I was wearing. I used the Asbell wool pullovers when it's cold. The wool's real silent, and I've talked to Teresa Asbell. She's the one that sews them up. So if you call it there, place an order, if you talk to her, which I'm pretty sure you will, she's the one that actually sews them up and makes them. So flannel patterns, you know, I use camo first part of the year, but when it gets cold, I'll use that pullover, which is more of a flannel pattern. And I've had better success with a flannel pattern than I have with a camouflage pattern. I've harvested deer with both of them, but as far as being detected, I've tested it on, you know, hunting small game, you know, being real close, shooting at them, you know, what movement I can get away with. And a flannel pattern gives me a lot more, not actually gives away my appearance, but it gives me a lot more freedom of movement without getting spotted as far as that. And the scent control, which I already done mentioned, was the Pro Guy Gold. It also has an infinite shelf life. It don't have an expiration date. It'll last from here on out. I got a gallon bottle. You can buy it by the gallon or by the bottle. Gallon would be more cost effective, and I'm actually pro staff for them, so Gary Pickens, and he's been really good. So I've tested that stuff just like I have everything else in all kind of different situations, and it's come out pretty good. Some things I wouldn't even want to, you know, try. I actually sprayed it in the cat litter box and had somebody else, like my father-in-law, smell it. His nose was almost touching that plastic. And I was like, no, not me. So at least I know it does work really well. It does what it says it does, and that's all you can ask for. And that's all I look for. Somebody says it flies as good as this or that, or this arrow's better than that. You know, you got to try it before you decide. But you know, my camo, I even got military issue I got from a thrift store. I always try to pick that up because camo pattern has withstood a longer test of time, even though they used it back in the 80s, even beforehand. Camo didn't get really introduced until after probably World War II, and you know, they basically wore, you know, a flannel pattern for then, and they didn't starve. So I just try to use what I can to help my budget, you know, where I'm not spending a lot of money. But I am saving up for a custom bow, Bob Lee, which, you know, I've talked to them, and I was supposed to get it earlier part of this year, or not earlier part of this year, like I had when I got my money saved up, and I had things come up, but that stuff happens. But when I get that squared away, and we'll just do a video just up tuning a bow from zero, from getting it to all the way through it, whatever arrows I use. I kind of went over it, kind of quick in my earlier videos, but this will be more in depth how I do it and all that. So hopefully this year I'm gonna take where I get getting into every week posting something, whether it's a practice, what I'm focusing on, anything I can do to help y'all to shoot maybe a little bit better. Might be one little thing. That's the whole object of my channel, is to help people shoot better. And I'm ever learning something all the time about my own self. And but you know, take it along on some hunts. I got to get some software figured out, and I haven't really messed around with it. Try to film some hunts, not as easy as it looks, and I'm basically the cameraman and everything else. So I have to figure out my setup a little bit better instead of trying to do it at a last minute pinch. And that's just basic things I've used over this year. A lot of my stuff's multi-purposed. I even try to get my arrows. I try to use the same arrow for big game as I do small game. So I try not to, you know, try to make my arrow set up to the maximum that I can use it for. And so hopefully this helps. And you know, just if you're on a budget, some of those things to consider. The Asbell wool, I think, runs about $106 to about 140, but that's, you know, to stay warm and for it to be silent is probably the best thing that you can have. I'm always looking for something where I can wear the least without, you know, being cold. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do when it gets down really cold. And it don't really get that cold in North Carolina, but it can get down to 0 or even in the negative. But it's kind of a wet cold, a miserable cold. So I try to find stuff to where I'm comfortable and not have a lot of clothing where it's going to restrict the way I shoot. So and all that. So I hope this helps you. If you're on a budget, consider some of those things. You know, the Magnus broadheads, Great Northern quiver. I mean, it'd be money well spent that you won't have to worry about. So and even some of the other things. And I've tried to keep everything pretty simple, you know, this year, and it's kind of worked out for me. So, and hopefully, and this will probably be my last video for the year, so I won't get another video up till after January 1st. So I want to give special thanks to my subscribers, and really appreciate people subscribing and checking out the videos, and hopefully I can bring some more good, better, even better content than what I've been bringing. So I hope y'all have a great day, and God bless.